We flew past 1,000,000,000,000 suns, 100 billion galaxies, toward a small blue planet whirling around a star. Known as the planet of synchronous stones, this world had become the legend of tales, and so our journey began. Having taken form in feather and bone, we glided downward, circling over one particular island, where we settled into one of its cliffs overlooking the Hapsford Sea not far from the boy, a boy whose name was Ijad. He tossed and turned. A fitful sleep it was. The boy's thoughts had become somewhat jumbled and confused in recent days, and he'd grown increasingly restless. As he closed his eyes the night before, the boy had requested clarity, invoking the inner guidance that he often received through his dreams. It was in this light that we had come, for we were intimately connected to the boy, as the unfolding of his story would be the unfolding of our own. As he tossed and turned, there was an unexpected development just outside the entrance to the boy's hut, and it had to do with a snake. Unbeknownst to the boy, from the tall grasses that grew on the cliff, there had appeared a hungry snake, but it was not interested in the boy. Only a few days before, Ijad had watched with curiosity as a fat caterpillar had climbed the big tree on the cliff and spun itself into a cocoon, hanging motionless from a branch ever since. Many times the snake had passed this way, sliding through the growth beneath the big tree, its eyes cast upon the delicately suspended chrysalis. But the boy had always been active and about, causing the snake to retreat, forced to try its luck on another day. As the boy slept, the snake emerged from the growth, unchallenged beneath the tree, its eyes fixed upon the fragile cocoon. But the boy's sleep had suddenly deepened, causing his mind to relax and empty. It was then that we sent him the dream. It was a dream of a young princess whose beauty was stunning and beyond description. She moved with an effortless grace unlike anything the boy had seen before. But as she paused amidst her stones, she seemed unaware of the lizard-like beast emerging from the shadows behind her. The boy tried to call out in the dream, but he could not speak. The raptor's snake-like tail encircled the girl's stone altar, wrapping itself in upon her. Startled by the dream, the boy was suddenly awakened, his body jolting upright. In a moment of pure instinct, free of thought, he leapt from the bed, flew out the door, and poised himself directly over the snake, his pocket knife ready to plunge its steely blade into the creature's flesh. The boy paused, staring directly into the snake's eyes. Time stood still. A gap opened in which 1,000 choices could be seen, their outcomes stretching far into the future. And in that instant, Ijad knew there were options other than bloodshed. Keeping his eyes locked to the snake, the boy glided slowly backward toward the hut where on the wall hung the flute given to him by his father. The song of a heart's wish to save another can be a song like no other, and here on this cliff top by the sea, a boy with a flute brought forth a longing as deep and true as any heard before, a song calling for a young cocoon to be spared and for a snake to move on. In the next moment, the snake had relaxed as it turned away and slithered into the weeds. The chrysalis remained fixed to its branch, as if nothing had happened. All at once, it seemed that the many creatures of the cliff who had become part of the boy's world, animals, birds, insects, were emerging and gathering around the cocoon as if to celebrate the occasion. But in spite of the local wildlife celebration, the shell casing remained closed and motionless. As he put away his flute, Ijad could feel his growing impatience. I just wish the cocoon would open, he thought to himself. Then my caterpillar friend can fly free. Ijad slumped against the tree in disappointment. The western sky was beginning to darken as the orange sun crept toward the horizon's edge. The breeze flowed in from over the bay. He watched the eagles soaring high above the cliff's edge. He wondered, why are the eagles always more visible on the day of my dreams? The dwelling on the high cliff had become the boy's chosen place to stay in recent weeks. How many times the boy had looked out over these distant seas, imagining adventures that lay beyond the horizon, exciting journeys where he became known as the most skilled and courageous knight, saving princesses, slaying dragons of fire, rescuing ailing worlds from the clutches of evil. These visions excited the boy, but this morning something was different. The Princess of the Stones was still clear in his mind, though it seemed like the same girl from all his dreams. She appeared more beautiful each time. Who was this girl?
Ijad, where are you?
The boy glanced back toward his shuttle parked a few yards up from the cliff as the voice of his uncle squawked from the radio inside. Since taking up residence in his private outpost at the start of the spring, Ijad had been able to distance himself from the pressures of the royal regimen and all his palace duties as prince. Finding his grandmother's key with the shuttle, he had quickly jumped at the opportunity for freedom, and while his uncle hadn't been particularly thrilled about his new acquisition, his mother had insisted that Ijad had reached the right age to receive the gift. Suddenly the breeze picked up. As was sometimes the case at this time of day, storm clouds gathered over the bay and would soon be approaching the cliff. Both the shuttle and the hut needed to be closed up for the incoming rains. The boy knew his uncle would be angry if he didn't respond soon. The winds intensified. The boy would need to act quickly. He turned and headed back toward the shuttle.